Hi, today's video lecture I'm going to talk about Terry Smith's text about provincialism from 1974 alongside with an article from this year that was written on a website called artworkarchive.com, which focuses on how social media is changing how we experience art. I thought that these two texts had an interesting correlation because of really when they were written and how the analogy of social media taking the place of an art capital, like a physical art capital city of the world, is kind of occurring now. The definition of provincialism is regarded as the way of life or mode of thought of characteristic of the regions outside the capital city of a country, especially when regarded as unsophisticated or narrow-minded. This kind of gets applied to the art world in Smith's text by comparing New York City, their art scene, to Australian art, and how a lot of artists from Australia had to come to New York to establish themselves. And then even by the time they got back to Australia, they were already behind on certain styles because of the presence of the avant-garde in New York. So I thought it was interesting to kind of examine this article about social media and see how it's changed the artist's role and how social media kind of allows them to be the own curators of their work, pick their targeted audiences, even, furthermore, even selling the work. There was a stat that said that 80% of artwork bought by this current generation was done online. I thought that opened up a few layers of the conversation of making and content also. The first work of art that I wanted to discuss is this painting that I did from a few weeks ago that I did after coming back from New York City. Hopefully you can see it on there. I kind of wanted to just try and illustrate what I thought the average person in New York was looking like at the time, and I included certain labels like the iPod label with the wireless headphone things and like Gucci, and everybody seemed to have fur coats. So it was kind of just a reminder that New York City was a leader in style and fashion, along with having the biggest art institutions in the world, some of them, such, the huge museums there. And after spending a week there and seeing all of that, it kind of became clear to me that New York City is a brand within itself now. And as a painter not working there or living there, I felt like I kind of was placing myself in a provincial mindset and kind of a chance to critique that. So the next piece that I chose to look at in regards to these texts is from an artist, a young 22-year-old artist from London, her name is Hannah Hill. She's an embroiderer, and she used Instagram to gain recognition of her work, and also the content that she chooses to explore with her work are kind of based on social media. So here is one piece of work that she did. To me, this is kind of relating to the Smith text on a few levels because it's undermining the necessity for these institutions to showcase the work, and Hannah Hill is successfully using social media as a tool to gain recognition and visibility of her work. So ultimately, it's really, in my mind, social media is the new art capital of the world because of the reasons of how the artists can use it as a tool to choose their audiences and do whatever they want, really, and you don't have to go through a major gallery to show your work. I think it's also important to highlight that the whole showcasing of artwork on social media has become a medium within itself, and then that opens up the layers of conversation about how it can equalize all types of making and craft in the conversation of craft versus fine art. So all of this kind of ties together, and I think that if Terry Smith was to write an article about provincialism today, you would not be able to have that conversation without talking about social media. So basically, I'll end with a quote that was included in that article. It's actually from Vogue magazine, but it says, "Today, artists use Instagram as their own virtual art gallery, playing both dealer and curator, while their fans become critics and collectors. In other words, while gallery representation is so prestigious, it's no longer necessary to go through this middleman." And I think that's really the huge theme now, is we don't need these big capitals, and as the world becomes more digital, these physical presences are less important. And that's all I got.